Hey, this is Neil Bawa, the mad scientist of multifamily, and you're listening to the Mailbox Money Show with Bronson Hill.
All right, welcome to the Mailbox Money Show. My name is Bronson Hill. Super excited to be here with my friend CJ Turcotte, who is a international investor from Canada, lives in New York, and done all kinds of things in real estate and different types of assets, and has a cause that I really love. So I love talking about anything related to stopping human trafficking, and that's really what he's doing. So in this interview, we get into a lot of great topics around risk. How do we manage risk today? What sort of projects are good projects for today? How to get into certain types of real estate deals? How to network? Really, really great. Just stuff that I love, love, love talking about. I think you're going to love this interview. Let's go. Welcome to the Mailbox Money Show. This is your host, Bronson Hill. I'm really excited to be here with my friend, CJ, Christian Joseph. Really good to have you, brother, all the way from Canada. So, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm doing well, but I'm in New York City, but that's okay.
You're originally from Canada, though, right?
Exactly, exactly.
That's awesome. It's awesome, man. Well, good to have you with us. We met at an event, actually Ken's event a little while ago at Limitless. Had a great chat with you. I know you know a lot of folks. You're doing a lot of things. Wanted to have you on the show. You're also doing a lot of things in the influencer space in finance, which is awesome. And you've got an amazing cause that you're involved with. But before we get started, why don't you take us back, get us a little idea of your journey, kind of how you got started in real estate. I know you have a lot of a big portfolio, but tell us about how you got started and what was the inspiration for you.
Okay, so I was a professional photographer in Canada. I was working for Nike Canada, ASIC Canada, North Face, and a bunch of other well-known company like that. And I invest all my money in research and development. And I did a huge exit in 2003, and I start my journey as a real estate investor in 2003. So from there, buying some large portfolio in Canada. After a few events in my personal life, I decided to cross the border in 2012 and start back my journey here as a real estate investor from almost from scratch, to show my wife how to do it. And we were calling the syndicator, hey, how much can you give me if I find you a deal? And just to show her how to do it without no money involved. So I did like 5 deals on my at my first year, mainly with people from India that are here. They're
Okay.
major investors. So I have a lot of, let's say, a lot of door with them. And from there, it's just like word to mouth, and now
Yeah.
I'm managing a quite a good portfolio,
How many units now?
just under 7,000.
7,000. And how many years ago was that when you got started?
Here in US, 2012.
2012. Amazing. And I think you've raised hundreds of millions of dollars. You're creating a lot of resources and a lot of things for people all around the world, which is amazing.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it's always, look, we just deployed some capital in Egypt, me and my wife. We are look where the money is, or where the good deal are, we are always there. So
So you mentioned that, you were a photographer. I always find it's interesting. A lot of us have transitioned from other things. I was in medical sales. I was a youth minister, youth pastor for a few years. And so coming from
okay.
different things that we've done. So how did yeah, I guess it sounds like you did, photography for quite a while. I guess how do you feel like has that helped you in what you're doing now? Or how is that like some of the skills that you had? Because to me, it feels very different to be somebody who's raising capital and doing deals than somebody who's a photographer and doing projects.
It's for me, I look, to have access to that kind of level of business, to work with them, you need to be a salesman. You need to sell yourself. You need to create rapport with people. And I think that's the main thing. That's we all, no matter what our background is, at some point we were good seller or good people to make rapport with. We're natural connector. That's my
Hmm.
thought. I think you're the same. You're a really good
Yeah.
guy. You're easy to speak with. And look, we know each other for a few months now, and each time we see each other in a different event, it's always like if we know us forever. So it's really, I think it's the point that regroup us. I don't know how to say it in English exactly. Sorry for my French, by the way, but it's really, I think, people needs to create rapport first before raising capital or creating large businesses. I think we need to be able to be truthful for all ourselves first, and after that you can create rapport with other people. The same thing in your couple, as a
Yeah.
family. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
I think that's so, you brought up a really good point. I think this is something I talk to a lot of passive investors. I know you do as well. And a lot of people are like, hey, I'm retired and I'm worth $5 million. I really don't want to network. I don't want to do it. I'm an introvert, or they have all these reasons. But I think that like networking and interacting with other people, it's how we get access to deals. It's how we hear about things, how we stay connected. It's how we avoid losses sometimes because we hear, oh, don't invest with them. Watch out for these guys. And so I think that networking can be really powerful, whether you are somebody who's, it's amazing if you're raising capital, but even if you're a passive investor. I know a guy who's a full-time passive investor. He spends probably 20 hours a week just having calls with other people, just trying to figure out what they're doing because he's trying to get access to it. What are some tips? If I can perceive you're a pretty good networker. What are some things that, like, when you go to an event or you're trying to connect with somebody, what are some things that are kind of going through your mind as you're conversating or as you're kind of working the room, or you're just trying to kind of get to connect with people that are at the next level, or, people that you know?
look, I'm gonna give you a direct example of what happened last weekend. I was at the family office club in New York City,
Yeah.
and I was there with a friend. I met a friend there that I know for a long time, and the guy is really, he always push deals, and he was looking at me, and I have access to very high level people there. But just for an example, I met a nice lady, like in around 60 years old. Her name is Sabrina, and they just did a nice exit for their company. But I never met that lady prior, and we were talking about the book that she wants to launch soon about dessert from all over the world. But I like cooking, so I said, "Hey, I can share some good recipe with my grandmother." And I don't know why we talk about that, but it was just natural and no pressure. And she never asked me about my business or what I'm doing, but we talk about my nonprofit. But at the end, completely, when she saw her husband, she asked me, "Hey, what do you do for a living outside the nonprofit?" I said, "Oh, I'm a fund manager. I own a few doors and blah blah." And she said, "Do you offer good returns?" I said, "Oh yeah, average like 30 plus a year in the last 15 years." So she said right off the bat, "Oh, send me your recipe or your grandmother recipe. Send me your nonprofit. I want to help you. I want to put you in contact with several people. And for the business, I'll put you in contact with my son and my husband." That's it. I never
Yeah.
said about nothing. In my
Yeah.
philosophy,
Yeah.
you
It's
need
amazing.
to create rapport first. And after that, the question will come naturally. Hey, what do you do for a
Yeah.
living?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a really good point because in networking, and again, I'm writing my second book called Rich Brain: How the Wealthy Change Their Brain to Change Their Bank Account. And it's this idea. One of the concepts in here is called transformational or give first networking. So it's like a lot of people think of networking like I've got to go and I've got to shake hands and hand out cards and I got to push my whatever. But no one likes that. It's like people don't like networking events for that reason. But what you did is you had a kind of a give first approach. I'm going to connect. I'm going to develop rapport. I'm going to it was this person went, oh, let's talk about recipes. Let's talk about what the nonprofit. You talk about all this stuff and you just kind of whatever. And then over
Exactly.
time, what happens is as you help serve someone, because in that moment she needed help with the recipe, she needed help with this, and sometimes it could be an introduction in the room of saying, hey, let me introduce you to this other person that also invests in this area or also is interested in recipes or whatever. And it's like you're that connector. And even if it's not a person, it's a resource. And then at the end, hey, I like you. I think so. But it really, like, I think this is where a lot of people get it wrong when they're trying to connect with really successful people. They go
Yeah,
in with, oh, hey, I'm gonna go, I'm gonna pitch, I'm gonna like just try to get in front of them and just spit out a bunch of words. And I think it's the wrong
exactly.
approach. I think it's like the higher the level person, the more of a service approach you need to have. The more of a like, hey, I'm here to serve you, and really let that be genuine. And like you said, it will come up later, but you've got to trust that like as I help people, it'll come back.
Yeah, at that level, it's they don't want, look, you cannot pitch a rich guy how to make more money. They don't want that. They want a
Yeah.
cause. They want a human rapport first. And just another example, I met my new board of director member. with my wife, but my wife, okay, I'm not supposed to say that. She's a little bit stressed the first time she met
Yeah.
super wealthy people. So I didn't say nothing about Ron, okay?
Yeah.
And we had an unbelievable night at the restaurant with other people, and the mother of my friend was there also. And we were chatting, and everyone left after like 2 hours, but Ron stayed there with us, with me and my wife. And we took it. Sarah has the time to finish her glass of wine and everything, but we stayed there for 3 hours after the lunch, just chatting about life and many other topic and everything. And the next morning, my wife asked me, "Who's that guy?" And I said, "This guy is worth $6 billion." And she said, "Oh no, did I say something wrong or whatever?" I said, "No, you were perfect on it was perfect because it she was natural because she didn't know who that guy was. And the only thing they ask at that level is to be treated as equal and no bullshit, no violent, no nothing. We didn't talk about business. We just had fun between humans.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's I think a great principle for life because I think that at the end of the day, like you said, you want to talk to rich people about, how to become more rich. It's like a lot of people don't, it's the meaningful, it's the stuff that's like, what's my legacy and how do I give back and what are the causes that are important to me and who do I and Warren Buffett has this saying too, we only work with people we like and we trust, right? So if somebody's likable, but you can't trust, they're not just trustworthy in that investment or vice versa. Like, nobody wants to work with somebody like that, right? It's somebody who's
Exactly.
actually a trustworthy person. I think that's really good. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. I do want to get into your thoughts on, I know we've had, rates have been higher in real estate for a while, and I know we've seen some challenges there. Talk to us. Tell me about what kind of you're doing a lot of apartments. Are these all in the U.S.? Are they in Canada? Like, what are you doing? Have you seen some challenges
Mainly,
there? How do you mitigate the risk in that? Love to learn a little more.
mainly now we buy. That is sad for those investors, but we see right now a huge deal flow because I have a
Yeah,
lot of I have quite a large deal flow. That's why I decide to shake my institutional and office in US and outside US also on my fund. And it's unbelievable the number of developer syndicator that use like bridge loan and just to have quick money, but and they weren't under the impression that the rate will stay low forever. And just for example, we just bought a deal, 128 unit for the guy paid for it 14 million during COVID at 2-ish% with the bridge loan, and we got that deal for 10 million and change. So I think 10.7. So right off the bat, it's like 30% discount. Another deal that just crossed my table this morning, a developer in Raleigh, North Carolina, and the guy is good. He's in default right now, but that place worth like $15 million, 95% done, and he's not able to finish it because he's in default. I don't know what happened exactly, but I got
yeah.
that deal for we have access to that deal for a 50% discount.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah,
So,
we're seeing too similar things where, really booming markets, 30+% discounted, and it's
yeah,
everything costs more than it did 4 years ago in our society, groceries, gas, different things, except for multifamily apartments. And it's like,
yeah,
I mean, obviously there's
exactly.
some debt situations, but I'd rather buy with a lower price and, be able to have a higher interest rate and then hopefully rates come down and you can do really well with it. So, what
Yeah.
markets are you focusing on right now?
Mainly Sun Belt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, and I like the Carolinas a lot too.
Yeah.
So,
We have a
and
couple in the Carolinas. We love the Carolinas.
Missouri is pretty good those days too.
Yeah.
I'm
How do you
yeah,
go
go
ahead?
ahead.
Sorry.
Now,
Oh,
I'm mainly focusing on value add multifamily, 100 unit plus, ideally 200 unit plus. But it's really, look, even with the interest rate that was so high, now it's going down a little bit. But and on top of it, if Aris comes on board and if she raised the capital gain to 39 or 44, that depending on, I don't know what's gonna it's gonna be exactly, that's going to help us so much in the next year or the next
Yeah.
15 to 16 months because all the wealth transfer that we see with big family and everything, it was supposed to be like in the next 20 years. But what happened if that capital gain goes up? Hey, we're going to see deals in 2025 prior to January 26th, the 20
Yeah.
next year. I think it's gonna be a crazy year next year. No matter what, who wins the election, it's gonna be a quite a show.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be. No, for sure. You're absolutely right. So in your deals you've done the last couple of years, how I guess this deal going forward, are you using fixed debt, bridge debt? How have you kind of managed risk? I know some people have been pinched by rates changing and valuations, and love to kind of touch base on risk management.
Mainly, I have a different approach. Uh, let's say I give to my investor low preferred, okay, no bridge, no mezzanine, really fix. I prefer that even if it's a little bit less, but I always bought distress owner, always. So
Yeah.
right off the bat, I always have more equity. And the other thing I use also that not a lot of people knows, I know in Texas it's not possible anymore, but I use intangible asset also. So let's say when I buy something, just to make round number, I buy a building at $10 million. In fact, I'm not buying a real estate alone. I'm buying a building with a business.
Yeah.
That's considered as an intangible asset.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm able to lower the tax from the city. So approximately that give me like a 5 to 10% more NOI just because I use intangible asset on that because it's a business with employees with the real estate. So my building that I bought 10 million, I'm gonna get tax on it about 8.5 million.
Mhm.
So that's more money at the end of the day, but that's one of my trick.
Yeah,
And
that's great.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. So you have different things you do to try to maximize the value. I know
Like,
I wanted to talk actually for a few minutes about your what you're doing on the side. You have an amazing cause that's actually near and dear to my heart as well about human trafficking or sex trafficking, and you work with victims of that to try to help rehab and help them. Can you talk a little bit about how you do that?
look, like I said, just for example, the lady that I just met last weekend, Sabrina, uh, she told me that she wants to get involved. So we are planning to do a gala to raise some fund for the charity. But I'm Native American myself. So at the beginning, it was pretty hard for me because I suffered bullying in elementary
Mhm.
school because I was like the white guy, but in fact, and even outside the reservation, I was the Indian guy. So there was
Mm,
like some kind of no place for me.
mm,
But a few years back, I realized that it's not their fault. And in Canada and US, there's not a lot of people knows that, but there's a lot of kidnapping of newborn on reservation that
mm,
happen.
mm,
Those lady are had prostitution problem, drug, alcohol problem, and they're ready to sell their kids or just not taking care of their kids, and the people go in their house and take the kid, and the kid disappeared. It's pretty sad what's happening on reservation those days.
mm,
So after let's say after those baby were kidnapped, they are going back on in the civilization, and we got phone calls from diverse organization that we know, and we have pretty good big network of Native American outside reservation in Canada and US that represent like 4.5 million member across the America. And those lady are referred to us on a daily basis now because I just spread the word that I was ready to shelter them. So what we have two farm right now. We just bought two more farm between Lake Placid and Albany, upstate New York. And those two farm will be ready for next summer. But right now we are sheltering 25 lady on one farm and 16 on the other farm in Canada.
mhm.
And we have capability about 25 lady per farm. So yeah, it's a nice women team that take care of those lady. We farm with no chemicals, greenhouse, so they work the land. They have psychological support. They have like daycare also because a few of them have kids, and we help them to get back on track with finish the school, finish high school, finish college, and yeah, it's
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah. What's the name of the organization that you work with?
Anishinaabe Foundation.
The Nation Foundation.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, we'll put a link in that in the show notes so people can follow up with that. I think a lot of people don't realize, well, first of all, that there's 20 to 40 million human slaves today, more than there's ever been in the history of the world.
Yeah.
And it will continue to get worse unless we do something about it. I mean, it's like 3 times the size of Los Angeles, which is crazy. I mean, there's just so many people, and a lot of them never become free. And those that do, it's like they have all this trauma and they need support. And so having a place like that where they can go is really valuable. So I really appreciate your making a difference there. Want to circle back for a minute on just a couple of the things for investors, kind of some takeaways here. What do you think for someone who's a newer investor, maybe is a little cautious now, saying like, I don't know if it's the right time, or I don't know what my step one is to kind of get started. What do you suggest for people as they educate and kind of get started themselves?
Look, do your due diligence. It's super important to look at the track record of that syndicator or that fund. That's the first step. Never trust nobody.
Yeah.
If it's that's the first thing, but don't be afraid. There's never a good time to invest. Right now, I know there's a lot of problems, a lot of syndicator of a lot of us have hard problem to raise. I get it. It's the election year on top of it, so people wants to wait. I don't know why, but people wants to wait the result of the election. But there's always good deal, there's always bad deal, there's always like good syndicator, bad syndicator, whatever. But do your due diligence and don't be afraid. If the numbers make sense, I jump on it because
Yeah.
you create equity right now, you're gonna create wealth. And like right now, it's a very, very unique time. And I think there's a lot of money to do, but you need to be a good partner and be ready to share your knowledge also, but be ready to learn and everything will be right.
Yeah, that's it. I like that. That's great. Well, CJ, I really appreciate you being with us today. Thanks for taking some time. I know you have a big social following as well. How can people connect with you and your organization and your business and hear about your deals? How can people kind of reach out and connect?
Oh, LinkedIn is great, Instagram also. So yeah, feel free to connect. And I'm gonna start pushing more stuff like on the educational stuff on YouTube next week. We just jump on several things like what the another thing that I have to share with you. Uh, it took me a while to figure a way to have the same structure that I have in Canada to avoid complete taxes on the income. So 2025, I will structure my everything that I have right now in a way that it's possible for an investor, let's say investor that pays like 50,000 in tax per year to it has a trust that deferred tax, but you pay your so there's no need for 1031 or there's no need to anything, even deduction, cost segregation, whatever. It's obsolete now. And I just found that with a nice gentleman, and they have like 35 years of experience on that too. That's another topic and
Yeah, there are some unique
another show
trusts
by
out there that
itself.
have all
Yeah,
kinds of your stories.
exactly.
Yeah, people have unique things where they can just, put things in a trust and the things kind of run themselves and there's a lot of
Exactly.
basis is protected. So it's great.
Yeah.
Awesome, brother. Well, I want to honor you. I appreciate you coming here today. It was great to meet you. I look forward to staying connected. We'd love to do more collaboration and encourage people to reach out to you, connect with you. And I
Cool.
do appreciate the connection. We'll put some link in the notes and below for the video. And appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right, I really enjoyed this interview with CJ. I hope you enjoyed this. One of my biggest takeaways was, again, just what he did in that story that he was talking about networking, right? He met a woman named Sabrina, And he basically didn't pitch anything. He did not pitch anything he had. He just simply was in the room. He was present. He asked questions. He found that she was interested in a recipe, and they connected over the cause that he's involved with. And they just had a normal conversation. I think sometimes for people that are trying to be active in real estate, we try a little too hard, right? We're coming in and we're just coming with all this, I've got to share this and I've got to get this. And, networking is thought of shaking hands and handing out business cards. And no one likes that, or nobody just likes somebody who pushes their own agenda. But wouldn't it be an amazing thing if people showed up at networking events and had a give first approach, just like what he's talking about, where you show up, not what I can get out of this, but what I can give to it. And then through the process of doing that, it just naturally comes out. Hey, what do you do? Or how do you work? Well, is it good? Okay, great. Let's work together, right? Because as Warren Buffett would say, we only work with people we like and trust. And so when I get to people that are very, very successful, they tend to really be selective in who they work with. And it comes down to the likability factor and the trustworthy factor. So hope you enjoyed this. Would love for you to share it. Let us know who you'd like to hear on the show. And thanks for taking the time to educate yourself. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Mailbox Money Show. You've been listening to the Mailbox Money Podcast. For more free resources, articles, and videos, go to bronsonequity.com. There you can download your copy of the special report, The Single Best Investment Strategy During and After a Pandemic. None of the information shared here is an offer to buy a specific investment, and this is for educational purposes only. Consult your financial, legal, and tax professionals and use your own common sense before making any investment decisions. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in next time for more Mailbox Money.